The planned constitution review already, they seek your input into all of those and recommendations before the final document comes forth. We're joined this morning by Mr. Fred Agbaje, who's a constitutional lawyer. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you. Jabale.
Well, before you even delve into this matter, I mean, you read the papers, I see you with one of them. You must have read about the Lagos doctor strike.
Yeah, I saw.
There are different shades of opinion on this one.
Of course. I think both parties should go to a roundtable conference. We are in a democratic regime, which presupposes that all shades of opinion must be heard, and then you may agree, but at the end of the day, you also disagree. But ultimately, in the interest of the vast majority of Nigerians that are going to suffer, you reach a compromise. I think some people must come down from their Olympia height and then talk. But that's the difference between democracy and militarism, because military, they will just sack you, and then at the end of the day, they come back to their senses and begin to down negotiate. But under democratic dispensation, no, you don't do that. You listen. You judge, not war. So that is the beauty. And secondly, don't also forget the fact that under democratic regime, there's what is known as the labor rights. The trade union rights, under the trade union law, section 4243 gives trade union members opportunity. They can serve you notice. Once the notice is the required one under the relevant law, they go on strike. They are protected. But if you feel aggrieved, that's the beauty about the rule of law. You go to court and ask for an injunction to stop them from going further. Simple.
That could have been an option.
That is the essence of democracy. That is the rule of law for you. You don't react by saying, oh, all the 700 of you I sack you. No, you go to court and ask the court, give another, compel them to go to court, and then we go on with our negotiation. Anyway, I can only give free legal advice.
Okay, well, so how much we can take of that free advice. But let's get back to this constitution amendment now, because they keep talking about what they need to do, how they need to go about it. But most times, let me say most times, sometimes, yes. I mean, there are amendments that people expect to be done, and at the end of the day, maybe they postpone those ones and do some other ones which they consider to be real urgent.
I'm sorry to say this.
Yeah.
You see, in this country, we keep talking about constitutional amendment, as if constitution is the problem. If you have good leaders, they can turn around bad constitution. Late Chief Awolowo has said several times, look, the problem is not with the constitution. The problem has to do with the leaders. If you have the right type of leaders, and we have the right type of followers, and I can tell you that Nigerians, we are ready to follow if you have good leaders. You can turn us around.
How do you do that, to turn it around?
When you begin to deliver. For instance now, you and I, we are here because we are under the AC here because you have power. How many Nigerians? In my community now, where I just woke up this morning, I don't even know the color of the suit I was wearing. Because the generator, we have to off the generator 5 a.m. to allow it to rest. The whole of my community, for the past 1 week, no lights. Deliver it. People will walk. Everybody want to walk.
Don't be deceived by this brightness. It's generator also.
That's what I'm saying. I think because we are enjoying it now because people have the means. But how many Nigerians can afford it? Nigerians want to walk. The ordinary hairdresser, they want to walk. But where is the power?
Should that be
the woman in my 12 who is hawking pure water needs electricity to ice it, because you and I don't want to drink hot water because already we are sweating. So people want to work, but is the government playing its own complementary role?
And by this government, you mean National Assembly? I mean, they will.
So when we are talking about constitutional amendment, this area, in fairness, I don't want to be selfish. If you ask me, I will say, look, how do we deliver? How do we amend the constitution? If the constitution is the problem, how do we amend it so that at the end of the day, the ordinary Nigerian man on the street can enjoy the benefit of democracy in terms of, one, good electricity, provide electrification, light. Even the religious book tells us, when God created the world, the first thing he did was to remove darkness first and put in light. But when human being came, and they returned it the other way. They brought darkness back and removed light. And in a situation like that, I had expected that when we are talking about constitutional amendment, we should, if there are inhibitions, for instance, particularly under the exclusive legislative leave that has given so much to the federal government, particularly in terms of electricity generation and the rest of them, some of those items don't need to be there. In a federal system, you have 63 items on the exclusive legislative leave, and you gave the state mere 30 items. How can the state develop? Because don't forget that under federal system of government, it is the units, that is the states, as units or the federation, that powers the federal government. In other words, the state must be ensured that they are constitutionally strong enough. But all that is left for the federal government is about 2 or 3 items that should be left for the federal government. The federal government is just supposed to be playing just complementary role. Because the federal government maybe take care of external affairs, the military institution, and then internal. But you discover that matter of ordinary wages, when to go on vacation, they are all under the exclusive legislative. So there is so much of this thing. And I had expected that these are areas that should be addressed. Area that will make the state grow and then make the federal government less cumbersome in terms of overhead luggages.
If you allow me, Komini, I think you've just touched on an important area of this constitutional review. But again, if we look at the list that has been going around, things like that, they are not there. What we say is, I don't want to sound selfish. If they had sought opinion of some of us, and including you, I'm sure we would have made our contribution and said, well, this is an area you push your But what's the role of the people in all of this? Since the people at the National Assembly, the people at the National Assembly are supposed to be the representative of the people. So how do they get to reach their representative?
Look, let me tell you this.
To know what they feel about the Constitution.
They are supposed to be constituency offices. You go there. The essence of constituency office, don't even forget the fact that they also collect allowance for running those constituency offices. But you and I know who are the people in those constituencies. It's their relatives.
Okay, if you take a look at what we see now, some of the possible areas of concentration here. But for the fact that this is not included, I mean, it doesn't mean it cannot or will not be included. They've called for a memorandum asking people to bring their suggestions forward. And these ones are not bad, are they?
They are not, but as far as I'm concerned, these are just peripheral issues.
They don't hit the core.
They are not. They are not. They are not.
But one area will actually always, when you talk
about land use, that's fine, because the business community wants to acquire land, and the bureaucracy involved in getting the CFO. Like I was discussing with somebody on Sunday in church. I said, look, the bureaucracy around the land use decree the government can make it a thing of the past. What you need to do is, like Lagos State government has done, enumerate all the houses, whether dilapidated or not, they all have owners. What you need to do is enumerate them and then tell the owners, pay so amount of token money, we give you CFO, so that it will be easier. Some of those dilapidated houses, the owner want to sell it, but nobody want to buy it because there's no CFO. You are scared that if you buy it, another part of the family might get up and go to court and say, well, because what they will just tell you straight away that what you have bought is not a property, you have only succeeded in buying a lawsuit. But when there is CFO on this, one, the industrialization will improve. Those who want to go into agric, they will have access to it. But the government is not thinking that way. The so-called amendment they want to effect on the land use decree now, which Obasanjo regime cleverly called ACT, because it was incited into Section 315 of the Constitution. Apart from that, there is also the issue of Public Complaint Commission that was also incited, and NYC provisions, all incited by the military government. And to even make matter worse, they told us that none of those laws they had inserted into the Constitution on their own can be amended unless you comply with the fullest provisions relating to amendment of the Constitution itself. And not only that, it even made matter worse by saying that nothing, particularly Section 315, subsection 5, it says nothing in our own Constitution, this Constitution can override any provision of the Land Use Act. In a situation like that, I think there should be a fundamental amendment. Make land easily available to the people.
What do you think about the immunity clause?
Well, if you ask me about the immunity clause, I think I'm in total support of it. I have no apology to my friends who are governors, particularly. I won't mention those who are governors. It's good that what is the so-called immunity doing there?
But can they?
But the argument. Look, I want to.
It doesn't make any difference because even after office, they're still there and alive, but no one even brings up any kind of case against anyone.
Don't worry.
So why take it off when you know that this will disturb?
I won't agree with you.
Yes,
I won't agree with you. Why? That when they are left their face, we allow them to walk freely on the street.
But that's what it's always been.
We know. One was paraded on TV yesterday. The case has been adjourned as a result of objection here and there. The man has left the office. You see, drag him back. That's the beauty about democracy. Because the argument was, once the man has left the office, he should be free to go. No, you can go away with our loads of money in his pocket. No, you can't. Because the way and manner the so-called immunity clause have been abused in this country, you and I need to have a rethink about it, whether it is desirable or no longer desirable. In a situation where a deputy governor of a state, very close to my state, during the 2003 election, was caught carrying arms in his boot, and the man claimed immunity. How do you justify that? When the former Chief Justice of the Federation, Justice Begori, Alpha Begori, said, look, remove the so-called immunity and let us strike at those people. Then there was this contrary argument that no, if you remove immunity clause, you're opening the floodgate of litigation against such governor and public office. But
is it not true? I mean, considering how what's the word to use now? How volatile politics can be in this particular terrain.
Let me tell you this, Mate. If you have been a governor of the people, if you have been ruling well, you have delivered in accordance with your manifesto. Mm-hmm. You should look. How many people will be tested in taking you to court? Because if you go to court against such a governor, people you have million people there who will rise up against us. Yeah, allow a governor to carry out his work. He's doing well. How many people are taking Fashola to court during the first term? Is it not the second time now? People are complaining that you are no longer delivering. Now, in fact, you are even going further to sack doctors who are treating us. Please go and make peace with them. I'm telling you that if you are actually delivering the gate of democracy, you don't need that immunity. But the truth of the matter is that immunity has become a ready-made bedspread for the looting of this country.
Mr. Wajay, not to take anything away from what you've said, but you cited an example of, someone you might consider a people's governor, but were attempts not made. Were attempts not made, to distract him somewhat, and at the end of the day, some people had to rise up to say, leave him to do what he's been doing.
Exactly.
There were protests, but attempts were made. Assuming there was no immunity clause, only God can, tell how many litigations he would have had to battle just right before the 2011 elections.
In the first instance, why would anybody call a governor or deputy governor who is in a position of trust? Don't forget that the money you are spending, the state money you are spending, the trust money. It's not your personal money, and you dip your hand into it, and you steal so much, and at the end of the day, you are holding unknowingly to your immunity. Is that part of governance? Let us ask ourselves.
So should we have
Is that part of
an exception? Is
that are you serving us, or you are serving your pocket, or you are serving your family?
Would you suggest?
I think, look, Maupe, whether we like it or not, the so-called immunity clauses have been abused in this country, and therefore we must subject it to a critical debate. Do we still want it, or we don't want it? Ask me, I don't want it. It has been abused. From where we are coming from, it has been abused.
Should there be a middle ground?
Let us go to court. If you agree about governance in your state, go to court.
Mr. Gwajay.
There is inbuilt control mechanism within the judicial system. If your case is good or they made it, it will be hard. If it is not, We throw it overboard.
Mr. Agbaje, do you think that there should be a middle ground? Should it be a case of should there be or should there be not? Or can there not be exceptions to this particular immunity clause rule, as it were?
Even if you ask them, I don't think so, whether there should be exception. If you ask some of the serving governors today or deputy governor privately, they will tell you they don't need it. They will tell you. They will open up. They will tell you they don't need it. Because they themselves have become and they have become so embarrassed as a result of it, because they know what is going on. Very soon now, a commissioner will be asking for immunity too. Particularly those commissioners who have built, all they do is to share the money, collect the administrative allocation, put it in their boots and share it. So they begin to ask for immunity too. That's where we're going at the end of the day. Because if they say, we say, we want to be shielded away from litigation. So if everybody is saying, I want to be shielded away from litigation, so people like us should be thrown out of employment. They must be joking.
What about the issue of rotational presidency?
Well, there have been, the argument about rotational presidency has been on in this country for quite a long time. I must confess. I remember that idea was also mooted when I was an undergraduate as far back as 78, when we were transiting into the Shagari period. The argument was, if politics have become a do or die of a thing, why can't we make this in rotational go for a rotational presidency in which we'll have 6 zones, and each of the zones will now produce a president. But if that will guarantee peace and security in this country, so be it. So if it is not your turn, your zone turn to produce, you won't put your mouth in the air and say, look, we have been robbed, we have been cheated. No. I think for now, if that will allow for peace, tranquility, and then it will calm the nerves of the Boko Haramites, I think I will go for it.
But to do
that, if it will further polarize us as a nation, if it will further exacerbate the issue of insecurity, I think it's better we stay by what we have than taking a plunge.
Do they have to recognize regional governments or regions in order to actualize this one?
It has to be part of it. Because when you're talking about 6 zones, the South-South, the South-West, the North-West, North-East, and the North-Central, this is it. So okay. the states is like virtually going back to the regional government, in which some of the states will now come together and then form the zones, and then each of those zones will now produce a president.
What about
when it is your turn, you go in. If it's not your turn and you want to go in, I'm sure people will go to court and say, well, no, you hold on.
Okay,
there is this internal arrangement for the peace and tranquility of this country. Let us abide by it.
In terms of
they adopted it at the early stage.
And it worked for that.
And it worked
and it will not matter.
Bill Clinton also said, he repeated it, they had a problem when America started. But they have to do it until they can reach a consensus.
Mr. Agbaje, and it would not matter which political party. I mean, each political party will have to consider, candidates within those particular zones when assuming that kind of arrangement comes up.
It is left for you. If your region choose to float a party that is not acceptable to everybody, but acceptable to you people there, and you produce your own candidate. But the danger on it is that I'm not being pessimistic. Some people will produce a type of candidate that, those of you who are not from that part of the region, is it the one that they go to rule us next time? This country. But the people from that region will say, that's our candidate. Whether you like it or not, Tiwa. It has got it to our turn now, you are listening question. This is the best we can produce.
It's very possible that some of these sections of the Constitution maybe have outlived its usefulness or its relevance. One of such is the NYC Act. What is your take on that?
Is it only NYC Act? When you read that section 315 of the Constitution, not only NYC, let me tell you those decrees, not even act, that were smuggled criminally into the Constitution. The first is the NYC Act, which you rightly mentioned. The second is the Public Complaint Commission. The third is the National Security Act. They call it Act. It was a decree. National Security Act of Nigeria. And then, finally, the Land Use Act. And the most appalling aspect, which I said earlier, is that Section 315, subsection 5 of the Constitution says, well, nothing in this Constitution we are operating can invalidate any of the provisions of those decrees. But in any case, some of us will still argue that even the Constitution itself came in by a Decree 24. So it's a question of nothing in this decree shall override another decree. You see how military mentality works. And yet they tell us that this is our own constitution. Decree that you consider that came in via Decree 24, and they were able to smuggle so many things into it. So I see some of those things like we have mentioned, land use decree, NYSC. Do we still need NYSC? Even if we still need it, I would suggest we still need it, but we can panabit it, refurbish it in a more acceptable manner that we allow for freedom. The way it is tailored now is too military in orientation. We should be able to redefine it and let Nigerians decide, do we still want it? I should have the option of saying, I don't want to go to some area, some volatile area. I want to Savo, but let me go to.
You have to choose where yourself. Yes. Oh, I've heard people, even lawyers, I've heard them talk about the power to institute and undertake criminal case by extending the same to private persons and institutions, because it's not there at the moment. So they want this one so that individuals, institutions can undertake prosecutorial powers.
I subscribe to it because it will create job for people like us too. Because we are talking about the rule of law and democracy. You see, this idea of over-concentralization of so much of power in the Attorney General of the Federation office, this is a political appointee. Of course, the man who appoints the AGF, the Attorney General of the Federation, the Attorney General of the Federation will definitely owe his duty of alliance, or what to call allegiance. He will owe it to the man who has appointed him. But whereas, what is supposed to be the guiding principle is the public interest. He has the right to prosecute. He has the right to say, well, even if all the evidence are available on my table against, God bless you, against XYZ, I'm still snoring. When I wake up, they can prosecute after I have left the office. Otherwise, permanent secretary, go to court and enter a null prosecute, irrespective of the public feelings. It's a question of, I'm not saying our president will do it. Our president will not do it. At least I give him that privilege. He will not instruct an attorney general to discontinue or to file a null prosecute in a case in which the public are interested. And that is the danger that Nigerians have or are afraid of with the pension scam as well as the first subsidy scam now. The fear is that the way the federal government is dragging this, the House of Representatives said they have found some people culpable. The AGF is saying, no way. We still have to investigate further. And I agree with the AGF.
You can't prosecute based on recommendations.
Exactly. I agree perfectly. My colleague might not agree with me. I agree with AGF. Because when you know where the AGF, that Attorney General Federation, is coming from, having regard to so many of the cases they have lost in the court, the man will want to do his own work thoroughly this time before taking any case to court. I don't see it as the federal government trying to suppress anything that has to do with first subsidy. I think they want to be thorough this time around. Otherwise, if they rush to court, such cases will be thrown out at the end of the day. It becomes, they go back to square one, and then they now come back for a second missionary journey.
And they will blame the courts.
And they now begin to blame the court and the lawyer.